Welcome back to the Tailosive Tech Podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello,
Randy
hello.
got the Mac OS trivia correct, so he survived. He's made it to the next episode.
I survived the elimination round.
We'll see if anyone survives this episode.
I can't say the same for the other co-host who thought this was going to be filmed not on an iPhone. So,
oh my God, we should talk about that for a second.
let's do it because now I have long-term thoughts about all this now. Yeah.
And I think we were already bickering before we started recording.
Okay. Oh, that part. Yes, let's talk about that. Okay, so Drew,
2 events in a row shot on iPhone.
2 events in a row shot on iPhone. Drew was doing a live stream, as well as what he does for situations like this. He did a behind-the-scenes stream to show his production flow of how he'll talk about the recap, edit, and all that. In the process of doing that, Drew and I started. We found ourselves at a crossroads, a disagreement. Very rare, but we found one, and I want to get the controversy over with. The event was shot on iPhone, okay, and it says it at the very end, last second, and then it says it was edited on a Mac, which is freaking hilarious to me, and an iPad, which is also like, okay, so what's the ratio there? But the shot on iPhone part is the interesting part where him and I disagree. Drew.
Because of the fine print.
Because of the fine print. Drew, go ahead and make your stance. Make your what you believe to be true to the story.
All right. I screwed around with the format because I wanted to get that screenshot there. But basically, I interpret all presenters, locations, and aerial footage shot on iPhone means the whole thing. Every frame that wasn't, a rendering. There's like close-ups of the iPad and the animations. I'm hoping that's what was edited on Mac, although I think it's hilarious that they had to start with that. They were like, look at all the amazing, incredible things you can do with iPad. Edited on Mac. And then they were like, but we use the iPad at some point too. So I'm just like, what is this? They'll probably drop a behind the scenes if they haven't yet already. They might have already dropped one by the time this podcast goes up.
We are
I'm
filming
for it now.
Literally time of day for me. It's 11 a.m. Pacific. We are filming this is the most raw reaction I think we've been able to capture so quickly.
Pretty close.
We are but 3 hours apart from when the event played and where we're at right now. So a lot can happen between now and hopefully when we drop the podcast tonight. But
that's true.
So there's a lot that we're capturing,
which might make this more fun.
Yeah, it
if
might.
People already know the answer.
Yeah.
But I would love to see the percentages. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if with all of the artistry effects, when they're flying over Cupertino and there's all this paint and drawing, that was done on iPad, I could believe. Yeah. But I wonder if everything else was done on Mac, all of the actual hardcore editing. But I will admit, even though they didn't start the event off by saying this was shot on iPhone, there was a point, you can scroll back and rewatch my reaction if you want. There was a point where while watching the event, I said, the lighting doesn't look great here. Like, the subject seems a little darker.
Which part was that for you?
I think it was when they were demoing Logic Pro 2.
Okay. All right.
There's a shot where they pan in, and I'm like, the subject is not as bright as he should be. And I wasn't actively thinking, oh, it's because it's shot on iPhone. I was just thinking,
I know exactly what you're talking about. When the camera starts to do a pan, or it's moving from left to right, and so
I'll find it here.
It transitions from they're doing like I think rock climbing or whatever, indoor rock climbing, so now they're inside this like art studio. And to me, what I just remember without re-looking at it at the moment, what stood out to me is everything felt balanced and equal in a way that production wouldn't want you to do it. What I mean by that is if you're watching this on YouTube, I have my ring light on me, and I've turned off the lights in the background minus my accent lighting, just like Drew's blue.
Yeah.
So it's not proportionate, it's not balanced, it's not equal. I pop out on
Uh-huh.
purpose and it's supposed to be dimmed. In most productions,
Yeah.
you see things like that. And this one, everything looked color balanced and vibrant and just kind of also contrasty. Oh, there we go. Oh, so he just put it in
Mm.
the yeah.
I
So
sent it to you so you can see it.
that's that. Yes, the here. What was weird about this is the outdoor loft area through the windows is the same light balance minus some of that exposure. There's some overexposing that's happening there. That is the same,
Because it was probably shot in log, right?
right? So it's the same color pop on the outside as it is on the inside. And our subject here, the presenter here, he looks the most like saturated. He looks like he blends into the background. It looks like there's somebody supposed to be in front
Right.
of him. So that did
Right.
stand out to me. The lady sitting
And
at
I
the
wasn't
table.
thinking it must be on iPhone. There was still a lot of this event that looked amazing. I'm highlighting the one. There's this beautiful canvas. There's this beautiful painting,
Yes.
and I'm going up saying, it's a little
I
cracked
like
on
that
the
we're doing that
corner."
though. Let's nitpick because here's my thoughts about iPhone, shot on iPhone now. We were able to better articulate the execution of it last year when everything was shot at night. Again, color control. When
That's
you
true. It was all a nighttime event. It was
when
much
that's
darker.
all when all those lights are off and you just highlight your subject like Tim Cook, it's so much
Yeah.
easier to be like that's a clean image. But here today, we saw a shot on iPhone during
In the
daylight.
day. Yeah.
So you have much more
Uh-huh.
keen with the
Uh-huh.
lights that's happening here. And I like that we're nitpicking, articulating it in this way. So that way we can see where there's room for growth. I
Right.
this is a good problem. I'm nitpicking at the end of the day. This is a
Yeah.
good problem.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
If it's you can film an entire event on a phone in the daytime now, and we're not able to notice for like a good 25 minutes into the presentation.
Yes.
We're not able to tell. We're just like, wow, this aerial footage looks fantastic and the artistry is great. And we're like, oh, by the way,
Shot on iPhone.
15 Pro.
Yeah, key.
That's
The-
impressive.
My key takeaway, which I've always known this, but I want to emphasize this: audio. Audio is the make or break. As subconscious and as passive as it is, no good video can be flawlessly executed in any format or artsy direction you take it without the audio. As seen by Tenet, people complain about the audio with the soundtrack, and they're like, "Oh," and I mean that was shot IMAX, but the audio was felt off for people who saw the movie Tenet, a great Christopher Nolan
Yeah.
movie, but audio really took you out of the
Meh.
element. Drew films his podcast on the onboard mic with MacBook Pro, and it sounds better than most of the time when I was using one of my other mics besides my actual like multi-$100 one here. And that goes to show like the emphasis of how great audio can be and how far audio has come. And I think the next like big aha moment for me is when they say filmed and like when audio is from the actual device itself. That's when I'll be
Oh,
like,
jeez.
okay, there you go. It's gonna be harder because you got to mic up and there's distances, but
I think proximity is really all they need. If you've ever done just like a standard voice memo on your iPhone but held the mic to
Right.
you pretty close like this,
it's too good.
they could probably like boom mic an iPhone. Just put it on a huge pole and put it right above whoever's speaking.
Yes.
And maybe one event will be like, there's a bit less headroom today. There's not much space above Tim. Or
It's
I
really
used to
cropped
try.
in. Good
Hi.
morning.
Good morning.
It crops in
Actually
on
said
him
good
like
morning today.
like Mitch McConnell.
Yeah. Oh no, he's becoming a recurring
I love it.
segment on this show, isn't he?
All right, let's talk
I'm
about.
glad.
Go
I'm
ahead.
glad we're getting to talk about the production itself because I didn't get much time to talk about it in the recap video or the stream.
That's the most exciting
So-
part for me.
Was that bad that if someone said, Drew, what was the best announcement from today? And
The
I'm going to
production.
say, Final Cut camera for iPhone.
That is
Like,
genuinely cool.
the iPhone app.
I can't
I'm-
wait to get my hands on that. That's cool.
I'm curious how it works. I saw they did a newsroom post for it. They did a designated post just for the app.
Yeah.
And I need to read more about it because it says with this new Final Cut Pro 2, um, it's very poorly worded. It says
I'm gonna pull
Final
up the
Cut
newsroom.
Pro for iPad 2, which makes me think of the actual iPad 2. Just call it Final Cut Pro 2 for iPad. Um, anyway, support for projects on external drives, which was a big request. I'm glad they're doing that. And then live multicam to record multiple angles at once. What do you think the resolution for that is going to be like?
I hope uh as high as lossless. I hope.
See, that's what I hope too, but I'm worried because I'm confused how the process actually works.
I'm checking out
Like,
the newsroom right now so I can get a better understanding. Here's what
um,
I feel. It's
okay.
the limitations of the hardware, which would be for you
Uh huh.
log, for me, uh 4K at 60, but it's still compressed. Mine would be. That's what I'm hoping is the case.
Oh, okay. I think you might be right. I'm reading it now.
Okay.
And this is better than I thought because that was my first concern. Is I was like, is the iPad actually what's storing the footage? And you have to get basically like a continuity camera feed from the iPhone. Like it's 1080p, 30 FPS. It's not the best quality, but that's all they can handle over the air.
Right.
What this says is each live camera feed can have settings adjusted right from the Final Cut, which we saw, where you can adjust the focal
Right.
length and the zoom. That was cool. And then editable preview clips are immediately passed through to Final Cut for iPad and replaced with full resolution files in the background
Mm.
so users can seamlessly move from production to editing. So, do you think that means like there's some kind of back end airdrop that goes on when you're done recording? Like the
I
phones have to stay nearby or
like much like continuity cam, which I think we're using some of that happening here. I think just no, I got nothing to go off of this. I think much like continuity
Mhm.
cam, it is just it's the receiver, the Mac or the iPad, the whatever's the receiver, and the phone is strictly behaving as our dedicated camera, which means you still get the same. If you choose to, you get the same like bells and whistles that kind of get processed with iPhone. But if all that hardware is coming from the device itself, and we do get those individual controls for each device, each iPhone, I don't see why you wouldn't be able to record log if you chose to. And then my highest would be 4K at 60. And then
Yeah.
both of those the iPad now, I think what it's trying to promo is that it can take in all that data effortlessly if you have the right terabyte storage for it. It'd be able to hold all that information and edit
Only available with 8 terabytes.
with nano textured glass.
Oh
uh,
boy.
so I think
Yeah.
I think our phones are nothing more than the hardware it's utilizing for it. And what makes it an
Wow.
Apple exclusive thing is that it's going to use the same tech that's using continuity cam for the Mac, and now that's their way of bringing it over to the iPad. Um, Otherwise, I could hook up this camera, my Sony, and it would have been the same thing. And I just don't see that same capabilities for having that granular control into the settings itself. Looking at the phone itself, I'm seeing all the editing you can do with it, like the adjustments. It says 120
Yeah.
millimeter means you're obviously switching between those three lenses that I from what I'm observing. 24,
Right.
120, and 13. Those are your three lenses for the Pro. And then off to the side, I see ProRes, HDR, 4K, 30 frames per second. That right there tells me you can mess with ProRes, make it log.
Mhm.
Yeah, I at least we know for sure ProRes is offered for this feature. I don't see why log wouldn't be available, but not that
Oh,
we would be
I'm positive it would. But the best thing I read today of this newsroom post, Final Cut Camera can be downloaded for free
for
as a
free.
standalone app. with any iPhone running iOS 17. So even the 10s gets Final Cut camera.
This is my takeaway, that it is competing with the
That's
Blackmagic
great.
app, the camera app,
Oh, absolutely.
which is just like what they did
If you
with
can't
Tile.
buy them, beat them.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? They will give you the features from competitors first. We've seen this three times or four times now. The competitor
You're
comes
right.
out first.
Oh my god.
This is
Oh,
cool.
that makes sense.
And then they go, yeah, that is cool. Guess what? Ours is cooler if you choose to stay within the Apple ecosystem, EU.
Right. They gave it to the third parties first so that they get less targets on their back. They
Boom.
get to say, "See, we helped them out."
This is no
We let
different than what
them use
Blackmagic
those.
does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We just
I think
waited a
you're
little over a little less than a year. That's cool, man. I like it because I like using the Blackmagic
Wow.
app when I was filming with the Pro. I liked the uh I like the auto focus, not the auto, excuse me. I like the locked focus and exposure. So that way, when I was filming something and I was trying to be like artsy cinematic about it on the Pro 15, I liked being able to
Mm-hmm.
move around and the exposure didn't adjust, and it made me feel like, oh, see, it feels more professional now. And only Blackmagic at the time was giving me that like type of control. I couldn't really do that
Right.
on the
Right.
native app without adjusting autofocus, and I didn't want to do all that. Now, boom, there it is. Blackmagic Hood, that thing's gonna go away. It's gonna be automatically saved to your Photos app, and if you have iCloud Plus, and then it's all good. It all just works. Yeah.
It just works. I'm also reading, I didn't hear this during the event, but Final Cut for Mac is getting a 10.8 update, which enables AI features. I know your favorite. But they're saying that they can enhance light and color, improve color balance, contrast, and brightness in one simple step that is optimized for SDR, HDR, RAW, and log. And then they're also introducing smooth slow-mo, where
Ooh.
I guess they're using the neural cores to blend frames together. It's not a new concept, but
Yeah.
they already had
new
an
for Final
optical
Cut.
flow on Final Cut. Well, Final Cut did have a optical flow, I think it was called, something like that would blur them, but I'm guessing it's some kind of new algorithm, and it might perform better than before. But I gotta try more.
I would use that feature.
More stuff.
I actually just yesterday, as of recording this, yesterday, I put out a video and I slow mode. I did a technique that you taught me about, like if something doesn't fit the thing, like just drag or pinch to adjust the speed a little bit. And I was trying to make it something, I was more or less trying to sync it with background music, and I wanted it to end when the background music ended, so I needed to stretch it. When I did, that footage was naturally or natively recorded at 4K 24 frames per second. And so when I stretched it, it went like it was moving like this, and I was like, maybe if I add a blur effect, it kind of helps it. Nope, it just looked like out of focus and stuttery. I was like, man, I wish I could smooth blend this the way they do 30 frame films to 60 frame films. I would like to see that. So that's something I would use. The whole AI thing. Okay, hang on. Hang on. Before, because I have an overarching thought about iPad and AI right now. But before
AI pad.
AI pad. I like that. Before we do that,
Almost as good as performance enhancements.
beautiful, by the way. I love that you emphasized
Thank
that.
you. I like unintentionally coining terms. That's my favorite. It can't be on purpose. It has to be like you were talking so fast you made up a new phrase.
I mix up when I talk so fast trying to get my point across, which I'm working on about slowing down. One time I said, "You guys went out of my way to come watch my videos," and I meant to say your way, and I'm like, I'm keeping it.
That's staying in.
That's staying in. There was no take two on that. Okay, before I talk about AI and iPad, we didn't finish our controversy. I want to talk about the shot on iPhone.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm excited
Yes.
too, but I want the audience to like, maybe they'll have feedback. So, Drew thinks everything in that 30 to 40-minute clip was effectively promoted at the end, saying that all of that was shot on iPhone, edited on Mac and iPad. I believe I'm being literal here, and maybe I'm splitting hairs, but it is my belief that the fine print at the bottom that says all presenters, locations, and aerial footage shot on iPhone means there was something in there not shot on iPhone. Excuse me. I'm getting emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so our disagreement, where we're like, I don't know, is
Mm-hmm.
when they say presenters, locations, and aerial footage. Okay, disregard aerial. Presenters and locations shot on iPhone. Drew's taking that at face value. I'm saying the keynote actual presenters, Tim, John. I'm sorry, I don't know the guy who did Logic and Final Cut, and I don't remember the female's name at this moment. But
And the rest.
and here on Gilligan, and those other people. I'm saying,
Let's be honest, Tim doesn't know who they are either.
they keep switching them out. Like
He wasn't there.
Tim, I don't know if it was you or if it was just me. I mean, but Tim looks like he's starting to Mitch McConnell a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
What do you mean? I'm scrubbing through the event right
Scrub,
now. I'm
scrub
looking
at the beginning.
part.
Scrub at the beginning. Just
Yeah.
look at his mannerisms as he's talking. I think his age is actually starting to show. Like, not the white hair part.
It's fine.
No, you take that and look at when he was like dancing at, one infinite loop and he's doing that little thing. And I know that was over a decade apart, but what I'm saying is he doesn't look like he has the same.
I think his eyes are being bombarded with studio lights because
Okay.
They
Is
were
that the
filming
dead
outside.
in his eyes I see? Is it
I'm
being...
watching him talk right now, and he's kind of just like, to get the iPhone to balance, they had to recreate daylight inside Apple headquarters. So he has like 3 suns shining in his face, and he's like, "Good morning, everyone."
The
He's
biggest
kind of
advancement
like,
since iPad.
"Are we done? Is that it?"
I hope.
They're like, "No, we need another take, Tim."
So the presenters. I think every person who's an Apple executive or a presenter today, all that was shot on iPhone. And I think all the fancy aerial footage was shot on iPhone. And so that means the locations of where all these guys were at. So the subway, for whatever reason, indoor rock climbing. The subway thing made no sense to me. I think all that on location shot on iPhone. Great. But every time there was a cut, and now we are being presented with the product, in this case, like iPad Pros, the one you and I were going back and forth on, that's not, to me, I don't consider that a presenter or a location. That was them putting an edited ad into the keynote, and then they'll take that clip, that edited ad, and run ads on X, Instagram, YouTube. And because of that, it is not part of the location presenters and aerial footage. It was an ad put on there. And I don't think those were shot on iPhone. I feel like it wasn't because of the special effects. Not all of it,
like the hydraulic press thing.
all those things that's happening. I'm sure some of that was happening, but like to take multiple shots of that happening, and it was like the compositioning. I was looking at the angling of that, and I went back after you and I were kind of talking about that. Looking at it,
I'm watching it right now.
It looks too presented as an ad. I do not feel it doesn't have the same energy, textures, tone as the rest of the keynote does, because that is meant to be a placed ad. It's us. That was us getting a sponsorship, even though we pay for YouTube Premium and we still get a sponsorship ad read. That was us getting an ad read, but one that I was willing to watch at least once. And those segments will be even though I your statement about the whole keynote is an ad, I agree. But this was an ad within an ad that is meant to live outside of the keynote. They won't take any clip of John talking or Tim talking and run that as an ad on Instagram, X, YouTube. And because of that, that's the more like, here's our presentation style of everything. Whereas like the ad itself and the effects that are happening, that was meant to sell, or at least emphasize the how, look how thin it's been pressed down, and it's not trying to sell you on iPhone, shot on iPhone at this moment. What it's trying to do is present the new product to you in the form of an ad. So I believe those types of clips never shot on iPhone, at least definitely not those ones, because there's too many CGI and special effects that's happening with maybe practical effects and stuff like that. That's my stance.
Well, I hate saying it, but after watching it back, I think you might be right. I'm scrubbing it back again, and I'm like, they have slow mo shots. They would not put iPhone slow mo in an Apple event. We all know how
Not in
bad
those lighting
iPhone slow.
conditions.
The flicker gets really bad, and the focusing is terrible. And there's very very narrow depth of field when they're showing off how thin the iPad is. A lot of the shots are very zoomed in, whereas
Yes.
most of the shot on iPhone is very wide. So I was wrong, I believe. I could be proven wrong, maybe, if they maybe they put some huge fancy attachment third party lens over the iPhone.
From Nomad or
Even the
Moment
slow-mo,
or whatever
though.
they call it. But the slow mo, I want it to be. Don't get me wrong. Like, I want it to be shot on iPhone, but
It looks like professional legit slow mo.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like iPhone slow mo is really hard to
that's
get
iPhone
good.
17. We get that later.
Yeah. 17 slim,
All right.
whatever that means.
Here's what I want to talk about today's event. From the offset, I know where you stand, and if people were if any of you guys at any point caught his recap video, you know where he stands. Surprise, surprise, Drew's stance is the same, but
I was pleasantly surprised.
pricing surprised me. I liked how they've cleaned up a messy lineup. It's still so close. You know what would have made it perfect for the whole lineup? If they would have touched iPad Mini today, then I would have been like, done,
Oh, I know.
done.
If they just would have thrown a new chip or reoriented the refresh rate.
That is a
or
3-year-old
whatever.
device now, dude. 3 years old.
Oh my god.
The iPad Mini.
Has it been that long?
It has. It will be
Wow.
this fall.
Almost 3.
So unless they, for whatever reason, touch it on some separate event. Today we're going to talk about Happy Halloween, MacBook Pros, and iPad Mini. Like, unless they do that, it's like, we're going to go over 3 years with iPad Mini. Had they touched iPad Mini, and they even talked about, so they didn't pretend it didn't exist. Had they touched it, it would have been a perfect iPad event, in my opinion. With that, as we stand today, May 7th, nothing about any of the lineup is like, time to upgrade this bad boy right here. I got the 2018 13-inch. Ha, take it. 13-inch iPad Pro. And my
I
keyboard,
can't believe they did that.
my keyboard and pencils, everything about it's perfect. Nothing is incentivizing me to upgrade today. Asterisk. What is the asterisk? In less than a month, we get new software. And I am now changing my stance, and I feel like I was wrong in my initial thought for Dub Dub. I think AI, the word AI was used today, and I was like, shocked in proprietary words.
Yeah.
Flabbergasted. I think AI is going to definitely be emphasized on all things software next month, and I think what's about to happen to iPad, software wise, is going to actually change iPad in its new lineup to coexist with Apple Vision Pro, iPhone, and Mac and all that stuff. If anything,
Mm-hmm.
I believe Mac is going to see the least amount of AI. Um,
Mm.
it'll get cool features like the whole subject lifting, or everything that they were trying about, like iPad doing all this cool stuff in Final Cut. I could see some variant of that going to or MacBook, and it should, because it's a very powerful device. But just seeing how they were talking about uh, AI today, I see it now as a more consumer based software push, and less as a professional based software push for AI. Um, and when I think about a consumer who wants to use AI and feel like they're doing pro products, I do think of iPad, because it wants to be pro. It can technically be pro with a bunch of different loopholes and different, there's a different pathway to
Yep.
get to the same result that's completely
Edited on
streamlined.
Mac.
Exactly. Things that are streamlined on Mac has a
Uh-huh.
has a detour on iPad, but eventually we'll get to the same result, just with more steps. Um,
Yeah.
I feel iPad is about to become the greatest thing for iPad's history next month. Not today, not when you could pick up your
Mm.
new iPads next week, but next month. All the software that's going to be announced, I think that is what pushes it over the edge, where it will actually cement itself in its lineup, where it doesn't need to just awkwardly exist amongst all the things an iPhone can do and a Mac could do. And it's
Mm.
because it's going to get the calculator app.
That's how it all comes together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like the iPad and the pencil are like that's how everything goes together.
Yeah.
That's how everything works. Like if you don't use the pencil, why use an iPad?
What
I
about the
guess
keyboard now? Like here's the part I'm actually, like, hardware wise, I'm struggling, and no software is going to fix this part for me. The
okay.
keyboard, I'm whelmed by the keyboard. A function key doesn't make or break the utility of using an iPad as a typing and trackpad type of
Yeah.
experience. Um, there was no new charging or faster charging, let alone battery for that matter. There's nothing that amplifies the utility of the iPad as it stands today, or all the way back to 2018. This, if you're watching this on YouTube, this device with the I bought final formed this baby, okay? And so I've had the same iPad for now 6 years. It will be 6 years this year. That's crazy. And it feels like it hasn't
Wow.
aged, because the software is what's the limiting factor here. But when I specced out the keyboard and the trackpad and I got the pencil, it became imitation meat. Not quite meat. I was like, okay, I see what you're doing.
A near burger.
Exactly. And it is the same dimensions of what I wanted it to be for a Mac. I purposely spec this whole lineup to be a Mac replacement. And software aside for a second, it can't be a Mac replacement when one of the ports right here is meant to be just power. It doesn't look like it said anything about data pass through. So you have one
No.
dedicated power, which right there alone, a MacBook Air M1, it's two USB-C ports. Either one of them can be power and or data. So that a
Right.
base entry cheaper than $700 MacBook Air M1, it's still more utility than any of the Magic Keyboard trackpad things for iPad. It doesn't fast charge, and because of I have the bigger 13-inch iPad Pro, I'm gonna say that now, it's 13 now. Apple has given me permission to say it. While it's plugged into this port here, it's still depleting battery. It doesn't charge it quicker than I use it, so it still loses battery, which means you have to plug it in to the main iPad port. But then you don't have data transfer, which I would be using an external USB or an external SSD the same way I do for my
Mm-hmm.
Mac. I would use it for my USB C hub, which means HDMI and everything else that would be open. I need to have that port open. At that point, all I'm having is a keyboard and trackpad, which you can already pair because of the beauty of Mac accessories with already a Magic Keyboard and Magic Mouse that can also pair to the iPad Pro or any iPad for that matter, really. So the hardware accessories, if you are trying to build out your lineup to be the most powerful iPad and you're going to pay $3,000 for it, it's still in a hardware capacity more limited than a MacBook. Not even a MacBook Pro, just a MacBook. And it could do more. I fail to see the connecting, like, oh, this is where iPad will beat Mac unless you need the Apple Pencil, what you were alluding to, Drew. That's the only thing.
It all comes back to the pencil.
And you don't even need the keyboard anymore then. You don't need the casing or anything. You just need a pencil. And where we simplified and stopped confusing the iPads, we confused the hell out of me about Apple Pencils. That just got confusing to me. So
it's a huge mess. But I wanted to point out you have a 13-inch iPad Pro.
I do.
And iPad Mini.
I do.
You can switch your Apple Pencil between those two.
And I do. I do.
You could not do that if you bought the new iPad Pro.
Yep.
And if you bought the Apple Pencil Pro, it wouldn't work with either of those iPads.
Yep.
Which explains how confusing this whole mess is. It's like a nightmare, really, about which keyboard cases work with what. And honestly, it makes me very glad that I got out of the iPad game. If I had purchased an M2 or even an M1 iPad Pro, I would be very annoyed today because those keyboard cases were not cheap. I'm glad I sold mine when I did, because that was back when it was like the newest version. And now it's like, okay, you can't just buy a new pencil anymore. You can't just buy a new iPad and bring over your keyboard to work with it because Apple claims it's not compatible. Even though they're so absurdly similar, this one's just a little bit taller, a little bit wider. Apple claims it's not compatible with the old one. So if you want to replace your iPad Pro, this is, especially if you use it with a keyboard and you want to keep using your pencil with it, which I assume most people do because that's kind of the whole point. I feel like if you're not using a pencil, just use a phone. Like, I struggle to understand what the iPad could offer. If we're ignoring Apple Pencil features, what does the iPad do that your phone or your Mac can't do for cheaper and faster, more efficiently, with more ports, more functionality? I guess for some people it's a portable monitor, like how you're describing it, just like security camera or a cash register. Some people, like we said, my interaction with iPadOS is choose your tip percentage. That's how I use the iPad.
No, thank you.
Every day.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Oh, thank you. You got me good.
I feel like I can hit no thank you with my eye closed now. If somebody's like, it's just going to ask me a few questions. Yeah, I bet. No, thank
so many
you.
times. There's a 4-finger gesture for no tip things. You just swipe up. But
I'm tipping you on the promise
fact
I'm going to
that-
get my food and my order right. That's not how this works, buddy. Sorry. It doesn't work.
Right. Just like the fact that it's such an accessory dependent device, it doesn't have a kickstand built in. So it needs some way for it to stand up. And these new Pros, literally no previous accessories are compatible. No folio covers, no keyboard cases, no pencil.
No deal.
You need a new polishing cloth.
Which, by the way,
Nano textured.
polishing cloth. This is the thinnest product Apple has ever made. Thank you very much.
Where's my Apple card?
This is thinner than the Apple Card.
We need to verify this.
I don't have...
We need to...
I have the polishing cloth that is from the Vision Pro. And it's a thinner cloth. than the one you would get.
How thin? Oh, I know what you're talking about. There's like the chinchilla fur one, and then there's the fabric one.
I have the not the chinchilla fur one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the very thin one. There was a very thin one that came with the iMac Pro as well that I still have
Oh, you're right.
somewhere.
I remember that. Uh,
I know that texture you're talking about.
yeah, but this is the thinnest one that you can buy, and I bought this one for $3,500. Thank you very much. So,
Whew.
if you have $3,500, or just let's just say 3,000 plus whatever, it might be better to just buy Apple Vision Pro over an iPad Pro with all its accessories. I'm gonna just say it. Yeah. If
It
you're
might be
dropping that type
more
of coin,
entertaining.
it'd be more future proofed in some way. At least the hardware. You are the hardware with the fingers and the. Is it compatible? I don't know. Does it still fit? Yep, I can do it.
I feel like it will fit. I bet you could take the new iPad Pro and put it all on the old keyboard case, and everything would line up, and Apple would just go, "No."
Are you going to review any of these before before software?
That's a good question. I've been thinking about that. Um, well, the point I almost had finished before I get into the review subject is, I remember when the M1 and the M2 iPad Pros came out, and I told everybody, "Don't do it. These are not worth it. They're not that different. It's the exact same crap as the A12Z, A12X. Don't act like you need the silicon." And so many people kept using the argument against me of overhead. I want this to last. I want to buy the newer chip so that I get more software support. And it's been like less than 2 years. And already they're like, "Oh, yeah, your iPad can't do this. You're not
Overhead.
capable of Apple Pencil Pro features. You need the M4 to do such and such." It's like that's the only direction they can go. That's kind of my point that I kept doubling down on is they're not going to care about longevity or making sure that you get the newest features.
Yep.
When they've run out of things to add, they have to software lock things, and they have to create this non-backwards compatibility. What's the term? Apple has coined frontwards compatibility. Everything works
Going forward
with the new thing. Don't think about your old crap. Don't think about your Apple Pencil 2s and your old keyboard cases. It's like you have to buy a whole new iPad if you want to access a lot of these new features now. And to me, it's like, yeah,
stuff that I feel is gimmicks. I genuinely feel the hover feature gimmick.
Hover is definitely something they could have added to older iPads. I've seen proof of that, and we know from the teardowns there's not some super magic layer. There's not some extra display layer that's there to catch the hover. It's the exact same displays as the earlier iPad Pros. They just software lock it. They claim it's because of the M2 chip, I think, but I don't buy it. I don't think the M2 has some kind of special magical. I mean, there were Galaxy Note 4s that did the hover thing with the stylus. Right. It's just a certain amount of signal. The one thing I will admit, I'm not an artist, but if I was, that would be really tempting, is the fact that the new Apple Pencil Pro has a gyro.
Yeah.
And you could have an asymmetrical brush and rotate it and hover it over the image so you know exactly if it's going to be a wide brush stroke or a flat stroke. And I was like, that's pretty sweet. If I was an artist, I would care about that. That would be cool. Specifically, a paint or drawing artist.
Right. It was cool to see how they were like trying to I don't know, beef up applications that are not native stock apps like Procreate. That's an app I use, and the visuals I do for it is really more. Actually, I use it more for like if I need to like fine tune, erase the background and get a PNG file, or if I'm trying to do something more digital art. I'm not the type of artist that can utilize that type of Apple Pencil support of like, oh, here we go.
Sure.
Not for lack of not wanting to, I just that's beyond my skill set. But the fact that they show what the third party applications can use for something that I feel like if you have an iPad Pro with the intent of using a stylus, then you do kind of need Procreate is the free, not the free, it's the one time payment as of now, one time payment of Photoshop. That's your Photoshop right there,
Yeah,
and
it is.
it's phenomenal. I love that's my favorite app for all things like visual that I can do because it makes someone who can't draw make something decent. I could do something fairly decent on that thing. So it is cool to see that. But but my issue does not lie with the Procreate team or the company. It goes back to what you're saying, Drew. This whole someone who has an M2 iPad Pro can't use any of the new accessories. Just can't. According to Apple with the
Nope.
keyboard. And and people you and I know, especially like in our communities, who were defending and swore by it and dropped a lot of coin on their M2 iPad Pro. Now it's like when you have a brand new car and you get that first like road rash on your rims or something hits your door
Yeah. Yeah.
and you're like, oh my, it's the first one's always, or if you have an iPhone and you drop it with that stainless steel or titanium and now the colored frame is now scuffed indefinitely
Yep.
and you're like, oh, like does it make your M2 iPad Pro any less usable? No. But you don't have
Yeah.
that new car smell anymore. And now your M2 iPad Pro is just as out of place as my 2018 iPad Pro. Well,
Yeah, they're
welcome
kind
to,
of both in the same camp now.
welcome
Right?
to irrelevancy.
They're both in the yep. You don't have the newest one, so you don't get the new. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. You
It
know,
is.
I'm sure when iPad OS 18 rolls around, we're going
Dude.
to find about all kinds of things that the M4 can magically do that the M2 cannot now.
Because of AI.
Um,
Yeah.
but I was just curious because we're talking about pricing and stuff and
Yeah.
cross shopping. You know, I've decided the iPad's not for me. It's just redundant in my life. But if you were curious about the iPad Airs, you can buy a I believe this is a M1. Let me double check. But from Apple Certified Refurbished, you can get an 11-inch M1 iPad Pro now for $619 with 256 gigs of storage. So
Wow.
$19 more than the newly announced Air. You get the dual camera, which the iPad Pro doesn't even have anymore.
None
You
of them
get the
do.
ProMotion display. Yeah, there's no more dual cameras. They're all gone. You get the dual camera, you get the ProMotion display, you get the Thunderbolt port, which the Air does not have. I guess you have the M1 instead of the M2, but as we all know, the differences in real-world performance there is very small. You get twice the storage because the Air ships with 128. This is 256. They have them in both colors still, space gray and silver. I would highly, highly recommend going with a used or refurbished iPad Pro over the new Airs, and that applies to the 13-inch as well. If I apply the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, wow, okay, it's actually a way better deal than I thought. This is mini LED, okay?
Mini LED.
iPad Air did not get this. iPad Air is still Liquid Retina 60 hertz. The 12.9-inch iPad Pro with M1 from Apple. This comes with a warranty and a replacement shell and a new box, new accessories and everything. Same storage of 128 gigs, but $759. It's less. You save money by going with the M1 12.9-inch iPad Pro, and you get double the refresh rate. You get XDR. You get a faster USB-C port. So if your budget is, oh, I'm willing to spend $800 on a new iPad, don't get the Air. I'm
Don't
sorry,
you
it's just
get
not worth it.
more unlocked feature? Well, like two things. It's a two-part question, and one I know the answer to, but
Okay,
two-part question. Um, One, the M1 MacBook Pro, sorry, M1 iPad Pro,
yeah,
Thunderbolt, iPad Air,
yes,
not Thunderbolt. Two, second thing,
correct.
don't you get more utility doing the external display connectivity from an iPad Pro M1
Mm,
over an Air? And I don't know. That's the one I don't know the answer to. Thought
okay, that's a good question.
I
I
know
think you're right.
you can do
I know what you're
external
talking about.
from an M chip Air. That I do know you can do, and have an extended display, not a mirroring display, extended display. But I thought, because of Thunderbolt and because of whatever else, I thought the Pros had more utility with the external display over an Air that can also do an external display. Again, not mirroring, being able to actually like push out uh, to a separate display. I don't know the answers to that one, but if that is
I'm
true,
looking it up right now.
okay.
Um,
If that is true,
I
then another
believe
reason to get an M1 uh, Mac iPad Pro.
fine print number 9. Okay, so when the option you talked about, like plugging in via Thunderbolt and getting the external monitor, you can also access the webcam if it's a studio display.
Hi.
Um,
Hello.
they say is available on iPad Pro 3rd gen and later, 11-inch 1st gen and later, iPad Air 4th gen and later. So I don't believe it requires it, but
Okay.
um, I imagine there's got to be some advantages to that because there's additional ports in the studio display. So Thunderbolt can take advantage of those if you have it on the iPad, and if
And
you
I
don't have
thought
it, I
you could
imagine.
clamshell the iPad. Apparently, I was wrong. Another for whatever reason,
Oh, you
soft
can?
you can't clamshell it. That's something I looked into where I was like,
I
oh,
didn't know that.
that's a software limitation. You people
Well, I guess
wanted
you wouldn't have the keyboard and trackpad. So if you have an external paired, would it let you clamshell?
no, it just you can't do it at all. It's the same. It's just there. It's just there.
You're like, no.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
They thought of that, and they intentionally left it out. But yeah, it's the iPad's greatest enemy is itself when you think about it.
It's
It's
software.
constantly its greatest competitor is that because the software doesn't go very where that it doesn't go very far. There's not much more extra that's unlocked by putting OLED in it or putting um, making it thinner. It feels like they're really bragging about that. Did you see the Apple ad um, for
Mm,
the new like a
only
vertical ad?
no. The only thing I saw was whatever they put in the keynote. So no.
Okay, well they actually put the iPod Nano in the commercial,
Wow.
which I thought
Retro.
was cool. I wasn't expecting there to be so much iPod Nano talk today. Um, I'll
There's
send
your
it to
Easter
you.
egg. It's coming back.
No, kill it. Um, but they seem to be really hyping up and bragging about the fact that this is the thinnest Apple product ever. They seem quite proud of that, but you have to wonder if that goal or that marketing stunt of this is the thinnest Apple product is that what killed the backwards compatibility?
I feel they did. Oh, hello. Man, that iPad Nano is so cool.
iPad
Wait
Nano.
for it. Hang on.
There you go.
I'm see. It is technically larger. Oh, it's so like irrelevant. Like it's so like on paper, and this feels like
Hmm.
an ad that Johnny Ive would have like endorsed. And like
Oh yeah, Steve would
we
be proud
we've
today.
made the most thinnest iPad out of aluminium that we were able to comfortably build with the structure not being compromised. And
The meme that keeps making me laugh are all the pictures of someone holding a 13-inch iPad with two fingers.
Yeah.
There's all these people like,
You need the
why
Pope,
would you hold it
the
like
one with the
that?
Pope going like this, just holding it.
I don't know. I'm trying to picture it good. Like,
Jeez, that's a thick boy you got there.
look how thin it is.
Yeah. Uh-huh. I'm gonna do
How
it
did
with.
they
I'm
even
gonna do
hold
that
this?
with my current iPad Pro. I'm gonna get a photo. I'll do a video shoot right here. And
I want to do it with my MacBook Pro
Yeah.
16-inch.
just
Look how thin it is.
hang on. This is not even top. Not even top heavy. Oh yeah. Take that. Thin.
Oh my god!
I'm gonna do it with the iPad Mini.
Wow.
I'm gonna do it to my son. Just hold him up. He's so thin.
Two fingers.
Two
There you go.
fingers. Everything 2 fingers.
Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you. I just remembered.
Okay.
You're a camera guy,
I am.
and you have all of the iPads on this panel. So,
I do.
how do you feel about their decision to drop the ultra-wide lens? I knew I was gonna get a deep Randy sigh from that one.
I will begin by answering your question with a question. Why did we have it to begin with? They say it was to help
Spatial video?
measure depth. And then we have LiDAR. LiDAR came first on iPad before it came on an iPhone 11 Pro.
That's true.
And
We just woke up one day and they were like, LiDAR exists. And we
This
were
is the
like,
thing.
what's it for? And they were like,
Yes.
don't think about it. And then Vision Pro came out and we still didn't get a good answer.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, as someone who, as you can see here, I only have but the one lens. I've only ever used one lens, and also iPad Mini one lens. I'm a one lens kind of guy. I would have taken a one lens iPhone 15 if they offered that, because, this is where now it gets interesting, because we know Apple bakes all their new goodies, at least up to right now, into the primary lens. And so at the time when iPhone 10R was out, and that was your other one lens camera, that competed with this camera for the 2018 iPad Pro, and this was a really good camera. And using the front facing camera for any FaceTime video calling, we used to record, if you remember, we used to record our podcasts using the front facing camera on the iPad, because it was better than that crappy Mac or any Mac, eyesight camera. Like this was the de facto, and it was good, and it had the same LiDAR sensors on the front, so it can also measure depth. And we never had any issues then. We were just working with what we had at the time. Because of all that, it never made sense to me about having an ultra wide, especially because it's the same camera since iPhone 11. It's the same ultra wide. I mean, we can really say that about most based iPhones, but at least the computational part of it that was doing the post processing really like helped the HDR or whatever the case may be on our iPhones. I've always noticed a lack of symmetry with every new iPad. I would go to an Apple store and I would tinker with the camera and compare it to that then current iPhone, and iPad just, it fell short. It doesn't have the best, it's not the best sensor even for the main sensor. So definitely they neglected.
Not even close.
Not even close. So they definitely neglected the ultra wide. I don't understand at all why there's a rear camera on an iPad. Period. Because it
Document scanning, right?
Stop. Maybe.
I thought you were the
I am,
guy.
but the documents I signed were always emailed to me, so I just signed it through email. I never took a carbon copy of something, filled it out, and then took a photo and sent it. And if I did, my default was to grab the more portable camera in my pocket to take that photo and send it. and then it's done.
That's a good point.
I
You have a frickin' phone.
and
Use that.
if I need to scan something, I'm probably not home, so I don't have the iPad on me. Um,
Oh wow,
I don't. I don't.
that's a good point.
I just don't understand.
That's a really good point, actually.
I don't understand cameras on iPads. I do understand it on the front-facing part, Face ID, better, FaceTime calls or whatever the case may be.
Which are now landscape.
Oh boy, I get it. That part's cool. It's fine, but I stopped caring about cameras on the iPad. I think after 2018, the next one that came with the lidar, I realized like, oh, it's the same thing, and now it's got lidar, and that means literally.
Yeah,
nothing to
everyone
me.
acts like LiDAR does all this stuff until if you've seen any Apple AR demo on like a non-LiDAR equipped Apple device,
Yeah,
you'll go, oh, this doesn't do anything.
exactly. It
Like,
doesn't.
never mind.
It locks my measurements in place. If I'm using the Measure app or something, it's like, okay, cool, that's fine, I
But
guess.
you wouldn't use the Measure app for anything important.
No, I do it. You're right. I just out of principle, I don't do it. But I always
Well,
like.
it's just wrong. I've tried it a million times. It's like
Yeah. But lidar's
it's
supposed to
within
help.
the ballpark.
Yeah, but it doesn't. It doesn't
Maybe Apple used the Measure app on the iPad Air displays. That's why they said 13 inches. It keeps changing because the Measure app's not very accurate.
What I will say, maybe to try to play devil's advocate here, is its greatest weakness is itself. The software has all the opportunity to actually make use of all its hardware from the ultra wide, which the fact that it's gone, cool. Unless you're gonna like put the new one that's supposed to be coming,
Yeah, good one.
a good one.
Like a macro would be cool.
Put
If they put that on an iPad.
put macro on there. That makes more sense for anything up close. Put a 48 megapixel main one, and I'll take your cameras more seriously. At that point, I will take iPad cameras more seriously. If the software is gonna suck, I will take the hardware more seriously. If we had like a 48 megapixel, just one. And until I figure out what
I
that
think
other
it would be
black
too
circle
thick.
is, I have no idea what they're doing.
I think they said it's an ambient light sensor.
I don't
which
even know what that means.
We've never had before. What the heck is even that?
Daddy chill.
Oh my god. Yeah. I love your point though about like if I want a document scanner, I'd want the highest megapixel sensor. I'd use my phone and then I would just move the document to my iPad if I needed to sign something. But if I'm document scanning, I'm not at home, so I'm not going to have my iPad.
Yeah.
They might have the data on this. Maybe a lot of people use it for that. Even if you and I are like, well, they're wrong.
Yeah.
They should stop. But yeah,
Maybe
cameras on
it is an
iPads.
enterprise thing that we just aren't. It's not in our line of work. I think I would
Probably.
believe if they were using it for some, because like, okay, I want to believe that they utilize the screen real estate for its full capabilities with all the nits and bright this all that. Like I want to believe that and it's useful. I could see them doing like a construction worker in some thing that's getting built and they're just going like this and like, oh yeah, then they can kind of pinch in and lidar helps. I like that would be on paper cool.
Yeah, construction workers really gonna like 5mm.
Right. But that's the
Things.
thing. There's
use
dedicated,
that.
genuine, proper hardware for all that. Stuff that's supposed to be bulky,
Right.
like that brick you have in your hand. Stuff that's supposed to endure damage. Or like a doctor.
This actually damages construction equipment.
I believe it. I believe it. Have a doctor like doing some type of lidar whatever thing over a patient, or even a student that's learning to do like autopsies or something, and they're just like kind of being able to scan. But then isn't that what the Vision Pro is supposed to do? Help you like, oh look, I can see the thing without hurting them. I killed our patient because I was zero point 0.1 inches off. I thought it was 13 inches. It said 13 inches, so I put the incision on the 13th inch. It turns out it was 12.9 inches, and I killed your son. I'm sorry. Like, completely butchered it. Don't sue me, sue Apple.
Stop.
You signed the waiver.
Dang it.
That
Oh my
type
God.
of that type of precision. How important can it be?
I can't believe you said autopsy.
Well, it wasn't supposed to be an autopsy.
Oh my
We were
God.
doing open heart surgery, and little did I know, because of my slip up, it turned into an autopsy.
Oh my God. We truly live in an age of wonders. Wow.
And now Mike's not here to stop me from going dark.
Who's gonna stop me? Yeah. How do you feel about, while we're on the camera subject,
Yeah.
how do you feel about them not being perfectly centered?
Oh, that's fine. I don't care. I care that it's on the right location now. What bothers me is that the Apple logo isn't.
Yeah, really.
That really
I feel like that
irritates
would
me.
have been the time, right?
Dude,
If you were gonna switch the camera.
look, it's on.
Yeah, the cases have been doing it for a long time.
Yeah. There we go.
So
Whatever.
why?
Like, and then I was like, all right, show me who you really are. Okay. What?
There it is.
I'm a
Yeah,
lie.
it's not a big deal, but I will remind everybody that's exactly what I suggested.
You did.
On those
You
old
even
podcasts.
said just
I was
slightly off put it, and then there's a resting mechanism for the. You're either spot on.
I did not expect them to break the pencil connection though. That was not what I suggested at all.
Break the. Wait. What do you mean break the pencil connection?
Well, for some reason, I don't know if it has to do with the new camera position, but for some reason, Apple Pencil Pro doesn't work with old iPads.
Oh yeah.
And
That's
Apple
stupid.
Pencil 2 doesn't work with new iPads.
That's
So somehow this, even though it's still an inductive magnetic charging system, somehow they broke it, and neither will communicate with the other, which is like.
It's that fake software limitation thing. I'm sure.
Do you think it's really software?
Yes.
Do you think that's it?
Okay.
Wow.
Well, so gyroscope. That's the big haptic engine at the tip of the like.
That can't be it.
So this right here is
It
supposed to
can't
be. Let me know that. Oh, you're moving something, and then gyroscope is what bricks it. There, you can utilize.
No, it can't be that. It's got to be the connector, right? It has to be.
No, because then you could just offset the pencil too. It doesn't matter. It's not like it's going on an iPad Mini. It's not going to be even clearly.
I
at
would have
this-
said just push the camera even more. Keep going. Go like
it's-
a little bit over.
It's so they can resell. I would have said it's because they're cleaning up the pencil lineup, but now you can buy all four. So now I have no idea what the heck is going on.
They still sell the Lightning pencil,
It's just
even though
one
the
more
iPad
reason
9
to
is
upsell.
dead.
It's another upsell, dude. It's the Apple way. It's the Apple way.
Well, this ties into your earlier question that I also didn't answer. But we're talking about iPads today. It's all in the theme of not finishing what you started. That's what iPadOS encompasses.
Yeah.
But has anything about the Ultra Retina XDR, the higher brightness, the better contrast ratio, does any of that excite you as an iPad user? Like, and I guess the real question I want to ask is, if you could use your existing keyboard case and your current Apple Pencil 2, if that was compatible with the new OLED iPads, would you be more tempted to upgrade? Would you want to upgrade?
For the new iPads as certified refurbish, I would then consider it. Not
Wait, today's iPads when they become certified refurbished? Is that what you meant?
yes.
Gotcha.
When they become cheaper.
That's smart. You just wait for it to be cheap.
Because my
That's
issue.
what you did with the Mini.
Yeah, and that's what I did with my my studio display. I love all things certified refurbished from Apple. It's dare I say perfect. Um,
Like
here's
you
my thing.
can't tell anything changed and it's cheaper.
I don't care. Yeah, I don't. I just don't care about like the packaging. Okay, so I get a not a glossy. I get a matte box. That's a studio
Me of
display.
all people should care about that, and I don't care about that.
Yeah,
So that tells you
those
how.
are you just find those things in a dumpster anyway. It's fine.
I'm at the dumpster outside the Apple store. Just...
I'm pretty sure that's what Nick did when he was finding all those boxes. I'm so certain he said that. I don't think I'm making that up. But anyway, okay.
I hope his next dumpster dive he uses the Meta glasses to record
Meta, take a photo of this. Um, so here's what I like about the new display. I do care about the brightness of the new OLED because there is a very drastic, like, there's a noticeable difference just in this setup here when I'm doing my shtick and I got the display here. In my final form, when I have the display and I have the Mac open, and let's say I even got my phone on one of my mounts over here, it all is more or less equal where I can adjust the brightness. But the brightest setting on my 2018 iPad is one of its like lower half of the dimming side of everything else, and I have to dim everything. And it's only then when I realize like I can't see my displays really, even indoor. When I have to use this artificial light here and everything's really bright, I have a hard time seeing my displays, and that's where this
Yeah.
fails. But it's about to be a 6-year-old device. I don't blame this iPad. I get it's a product of its time. Cool. So I've always said to myself, if I'm going to upgrade, I would do it in a way that I can use it outside properly. That means even getting like the paper-like thing or nano texture, I guess. But the brightness of things, I've been spoiled. I've been spoiled with the iPhones. Really, like iPhone spoiled me with brightness. Where it's like, this is the clearest image I've ever seen on a hot,
Oh yeah.
sunny day. I can't go
And
back,
it's still not even close.
dude.
The iPhones are like
Yeah.
2,000 nits, and the iPad just now hit 1,000.
Right.
So it's
I
literally
can't go
night and
back
day.
to dimmer products. I care more about brightness than I do screen resolution. That's how much I care about it now.
Oh, totally.
I learned that about
Resolution's
myself. I was
very
like, oh wow,
overrated.
I've been spoiled. So if I were to consider it and everything else was backwards compatible,
Mm-hmm.
certified refurbish at a pretty good, deal, I kind of feel like out of principle, I don't want to pay. I would pay what I paid for this iPad, which was I think 800, maybe 900, I think, because this is the 256 gig 2018.
Oh yeah.
I think I paid 850.
That was over 1,000, I believe.
Was it?
I think the 11-inch was like 800,
Dang.
and then the 13-inch was over 1,000,
I don't want to pay
and that's
1,000.
before accessories.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't want to pay 1,000 for anything really, I'm just I'm struggling because I'm protesting. I'm huffing and puffing, holding my breath. Like I'm not gonna get an iPhone whatever Pro. It's $1,000. But I have to accept. I have to accept.
Yeah,
that
no new colors.
no new colors.
Sorry.
It's gonna happen eventually. So if it is gonna happen, I have to pay $1,000. As close as I can get to the best discount. It's certified refurbish with my military discount. I will do it that way. I'm not
Okay.
interested in buying a brand new iPad. Period. Ever again. The only thing that I would care for it to be new, even a part of me even says iPhones, man. Like the only thing that has to be new is maybe
Headphones.
I was about to say headphones. Maybe headphones.
Yeah.
Headphones
You don't
have to
want
be
the
new.
earwax
Yes.
from the last guy.
It's like buying someone's used underwear from me. Like, no, thank you. I'm good.
Went to the thrift store. I found some good undies on sale.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna. No, that's just too intimate.
Yeah.
It's too personal to resell.
The your natural smells conflicting with whatever that is, and you're like, no, yeah, I can't.
Would you
do
buy
that.
a used AirTag?
I would buy a used AirTag. If it was properly reset. Like I would buy a used AirTag, a refurbished one from Apple, because I know they would actually properly like reset.
They
People who
just take the coin cell out and
they,
put a new
people
one
have
in.
bought used on Amazon MagSafe Find My Apple wallets, and they can't use
Oh
it
yeah.
because it's still synced to the old Apple ID.
Oh gosh, that's annoying.
So you spent $80 instead of 100 or whatever. Maybe that's not the
Well, those
price.
don't age well either.
Yeah,
That
not
material,
no.
it always collects a bunch of creases.
I
And
would
scratches.
buy a used leather wallet that is already patinaed and it smells bad and scarred and has none of my characteristics. I would do that. No, honestly, I iPhone
I
maybe
get
out
the
of
Ridge
like
wallet still.
out of excitement for new tech of what would come to like maybe the cameras, I would buy a brand new iPhone, and maybe a Mac. Maybe I would shop around to see what's on the certified and if it meets my criteria. But I'm not even interested in a new Mac. But definitely not an iPad. Obviously not a display. I'm looking for a used Ultra, Series One Ultra. I'm okay with
Ah,
that.
there you go.
I would buy
Oh,
used.
totally.
I would
Ultra
totally do
2's
that.
complete waste.
I'm having an issue with connectivity from the camera app. It doesn't display on my Series 7 anymore, ever. And I've done everything.
I just, for the first time, realized you're wearing your Apple Watch again.
Dude, I've been wearing it.
Was that on the last podcast?
Yes,
I
sir.
don't remember.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm that blind.
I wear the Apple Watch when I'm doing the production stuff to use it
Okay.
as my viewfinder for the iPhone, and it stopped working.
Mm.
It just doesn't work anymore. So now I've been kind of
That's a
looking.
problem.
I'm looking at an Ultra, so that way I can, hopefully have some lifespan in that where it's my viewfinder for the iPhone. iPhone, even though I'm filming all things on the Sony first, I'm still an iPhone camera first kind of guy for continuity cam and all things, shot on iPhone. And Apple
Mm.
Watch helps me use the camera feature a lot more efficiently, and so that way I can actually use the main sensor, not the front-facing camera. Then I'm like, okay, I can work off of this. And now the watch isn't really working anymore, so it's as slick and thin and everything that's great about the Series 7. It's not doing 100% of what I need it to do anymore. I'm like, dang it. I guess, but I don't want to buy new. I don't want to buy new anything. I don't want to buy a new keyboard for the iPad. I don't want to buy a new. I don't want to buy new nothing. I just certify refurbished.
That really makes it a tough sell because knowing that the prices are up, of course, because of the OLED. So we got a $200 price hike for both the Pros, and all of your accessories aren't going to work no matter what you bought. Doesn't matter how recent it was, they're not going to work with the new one. You have to buy a new keyboard case and a new
Right.
pencil. We're talking probably a minimum of $2,000
Dude.
for anybody who wants to recreate their setup. Good luck getting your money back on resale now with the older iPads.
Yeah.
So there's cool stuff there. You asked me earlier if I plan on reviewing them, and I feel like I've done this exact thing with the iPad for 4 years, where new hardware comes out, I buy it, I say, yeah, the hardware's cool, but software is not good enough, so not for me, and then I return it. And we've done that so many years now, and it feels kind of wasteful, feels kind of redundant, honestly.
And by wasteful, you mean
debating if
wasting your time.
My time. I feel like I would just be rehashing what I've already said, which is that iPadOS isn't missing one or two things. It's missing a million tiny things that all stack up. And it's not going to happen if we just keep waiting around for iPadOS to eventually come around to those things. Like, the only solution is a one big giant leap to macOS as a dual boot, and everyone's like, that's not going to happen, and I've accepted that. So I'm debating, should I just go to a store and play with it
Yes.
for a little bit
I was actually going to tell you, do that.
rather than do this whole ordering thing and returning
Bring your
and all
wife
the packaging
or Ross or friend. Bring somebody Take Mike. Somebody
Ma-
have somebody be the camera person while you just do like and make it a challenge. Like I'm going to review the brand new iPad Pro right here in this store, and I will know everything I need to know just based off of doing X, Y, and Z. And I'm gonna save myself time and money, and save everyone else's like just hassle of shipping and I'm gonna just do it right here, right now, and we will see. Is there something that's gonna actually stand out? I'm gonna try all the new features on Final Cut, all the new things on this, that, that. I'm gonna do it all really quickly. Let's see if that actually does the wow factor where I'm like, oh, there it is. Maybe I need that aha moment. Boom, get the pencil, play with the keyboard. Oh, function keys. Okay, here's the lock function. Da 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 da. Now let's go to Final Cut. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, just what I thought. I move better and quicker on Mac.
There you go. I'm all about efficiency.
Thank you to all the subscribers who support us over on Patreon. Seriously, it really helps us out. Us just watching this video.
Well, I was gonna say, there's no time limit. You can go to an Apple store.
It's not like you're demoing the headset.
No, it's not like a 30. You can take an iPad to yourself and just be like, no, I'm just getting a feel for it, and they'll go, okay, and leave you alone. You can be in there for 4 hours.
Yes, you can. But but my point about that is you only need but maybe the 10 minutes tops to actually be like,
we probably don't need.
Oh, okay. What are you gonna do? Open up the camera sensor and be like, what does that button? Oh, there. I guess it comes up. Take a photo. See how it fixes it in post processing. Take a video.
I'm gonna
drop
bring
that
my own
Cut.
footage to the store. I'll airdrop it to the store iPad and edit it right there. They'll be like, sir.
No, it's okay. I'm just getting a feel for it.
I'm just getting a feel.
Bring your intro outros so you can drop them into Final Cut, and then just
I mean, like, even people today I saw say like, Drew, what you should do a whole video that's filmed and edited on the iPad, and I was like, I've done that so many times now. How I can't count. I think 4 or 5 videos I've done, and every time I do it, I'm just mad the whole time. I'm just like, this is taking longer. This is freezing up. It's not as simple as my Mac. I need to get this over with. I can't, live stream the way I do on my Mac. I can't do this. I can't do that. And it just every single time piles up, which is why my gut reaction was, at the very least, I would want to wait until after Dub Dub to know everything changing with iPad OS before I go out and buy the latest one, just so we can make sure we're covering everything. But yeah, they probably won't put iPad OS 18 beta on the store demo.
They won't. No, that'll be me. If I review it, I'm gonna wait until after Dub Dub, and then I'll wait until I can get.
We'll wait for the holiday return window.
No, that's something I don't even.
December.
It will have the same life cycle as the Vision Pro, where it's going to spend 90% of it just on the box or something, just sitting there. And
yeah, if I'm honest with you, with everybody, like the items that I buy to review, I usually come to a conclusion pretty quick.
Yeah, same.
It typically doesn't take 2 weeks of ownership to be like, oh, no, this isn't worth it.
Yeah.
Randy's very right in saying that it typically just takes a few minutes. Maybe if you're trying a really intensive workflow, it takes a couple hours before you realize this is not for me, or this is definitely for me.
Especially if we're reviewing, because if you're reviewing, you already know what you're comparing it to. So we're not going through the whole system. We're just going to the things that have been updated or enhanced, and we're gonna utilize those features to know what we're comparing it to. I've had my aha moments with reviewing, like even the iPhone 15 Pro. I was done same day, and I was like, cool. I get this thing for 3 months, and I'll run with it just to see how, I don't know, how light it is compared to stainless steel. That was really my big thing, but I knew everything I needed to know on day one. I've done that with everything. Vision Pro, day one. I even was reviewing my studio display. In day one, I was like, I'm keeping this thing. And I did.
Yeah.
I knew. I just knew. At that point, I was like, oh, it all makes sense. It's clean.
And
Uh,
I knew day zero with my MacBook Pro when I got the 6% cash back glitch. I was like,
I'm keeping you
sold.
done.
I'm keeping. Don't even care if the Mac sucks. I just now
By
that I know I
principle, I
got
have
a
to keep
cash
it.
back glitch. Yeah, I
You,
have to.
we've talked about Final Cut, but I do want to address something I observed in Logic that is I know more
Oh yeah,
music and even more of I'm like I'm just they were talking about the AI features like now over they've had in Logic for ever that you can have a session drummer feature. So basically something that auto populates however how many bars you want it on your project's timeline where it's like boom
right,
chicka
right.
tap pa boom chicka tap pa and then you have all these
Yeah,
controls where you I want it louder, softer, more complex, simple to and you do all these
right,
things.
right.
You could change the tone, the textures, the reverb, all these things you could do. And they're like, okay, now we're bringing that feature over to now piano or keys, as they were calling it, and bass. And I was like, wait a minute. People might not know this, but we all get that feature musically for free on GarageBand. Specifically, I did it all the time on GarageBand for iPad. It's ready there.
Oh, okay.
I've never paid nothing for GarageBand. GarageBand is a free
Right.
application, and they give you
Yeah, it's
the
the
exact
garage.
same like, oh, you want to play in a D sharp chord, then it's dun, 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 and they do piano, bass, guitar, electric guitar, drums. They did it all already, and it's already on GarageBand. I've always said for a long time, it's like, how come this stuff's not on Logic? And part of me goes, well, because Logic is more professional. I don't need help knowing the chords. I know the chords. I can just go do them. So for me, it was like, oh, because it's more serious. And then they're like, no, but on Logic for iPad, where it's not more serious, now you could do what you could do on Logic or on GarageBand. You can now do on Logic for a subscription. Like, great.
Mm.
And so I kind of I laughed at it personally because there are some songs I have used the session drummer feature, um, and I liked the control I was able to have with it because then I'm able to actually like after if I like oh I can work with this, I can actually go in afterwards remove the session drummer and then it becomes actual like inputs on like a keyboard and then you can actually manipulate it even more and so that's how I have always used it or like give me an idea, okay now I'm gonna manipulate it and
Right, right.
honestly like this whole like no AI will help you write all this other music. I don't know anybody who uses Logic with the intent of having AI. I'm going to use their terminology here. AI write all the main notes, and so then you can be the primary guitar strummer or vocalist. Or I just it feels very garage band with a subscription. It's very very rudimentary from what I saw.
Sure.
When I saw that, it only reaffirmed I'm glad I never got an M anything iPad for Logic because you have so much more capability in the Mac version, and I don't
And it's
care.
cheaper.
It's cheaper. I listen. I don't care if they don't ever bring new features to Logic ever again. They just maintain it so it doesn't crash. If it's just software stability at this point,
Yeah.
I would be head over heels happy. I have a complete product package, and I can do everything I
Hmm.
need to do. And what's the limit is my own creativity at that point. It would do everything I needed to do because I know that application inside and out. And I think about that with Final Cut. Even as I'm using Final Cut now, basically daily at this point, I go, man, so much easier with the. I'm a mouse and keyboard kind of guy. I grew up on Mac, so like that maybe that's just my bias there. But like I do this like if they never brought any of those AI features here, I'm cool. I'm caking. I'm chill. I'm here just
Oh yeah.
I'm doing my thing. I got this
Only
figured out.
AI feature I want is for the computer to edit the whole video for me. But I don't think
The
we're
perfect
quite there
editor
yet.
you've always looked for.
If they have something like that where I can train it, I don't know. I've seen crazy things from OpenAI, but if they were like, analyze how I edit the next 10 videos and then do it yourself. It would probably still screw it up. I don't know. We're probably not getting that. But I was curious of your thoughts on the coolest thing I saw in Logic was it could record a group jam session and then break down, separate the audio tracks.
Yes.
So it's like, here's the vocals, here's the drums, would you do that? Is that helpful? I don't know. I'm not an audio guy.
As a one man show, one man band, as a one man everything, it doesn't help me in a studio environment. It would help me even as a one man person if I was performing. I was doing a live show, and then I wanted to record that and then go back later, and you would have control over each element easier to help. Like, I need to, increase the volume here. I need to compress this. Even if you wanted to clean up the performance, it was like, oh, this was actually, there was a technical issue here. I can now fix it. The fact that it broke those, because those things they're called stems. So you have your stems broken out. Right. And each stem gives you those now equal controls instead of it all just being recorded into one. It's no different than literally what you and I are doing right now with our audio. And then you go in, and if you apply anything on my audio or on your audio to help balance it, it's the exact same thing. And we're doing this. I compare it to this because this is live in the sense that we're doing it in one take. We're not going to go back. Hey, can I say that again? This is what it is.
Yeah.
And now we can fix it just to enhance things in post. That is cool. But I don't know, in my scenario, no, not really. If I wanted to strip the stems from a song, Billie Eilish dropped this new song, I'm going to take it, and you can do that. That's cool. But there's already AI software that does that, and it does it very well.
Yeah, that's true. They're giving you the tools for the Apple Music Sing
exactly.
feature.
And even more control.
They isolate the voice.
Here's the drums. Right. Here's this. And it's guessing. It is guessing. It's like, this is going off of frequency. Oh, here's in the 200 range of the EQ, so we'll take all that. Here's this. So, for a very quick second, I'm just going to nerd out. There's a plugin that's, I think even in Final Cut, but definitely in Logic, called a multi-compressor. And what a multi-compressor can do is you can go into each more or less frequency of your final mix, or any mix really, but it's meant to be for mastering, and you can isolate, you can solo out that frequency. So if you just want to hear the bass, but then it sounds like boom chicka ba chicka boom, but you just want to hear the you can do that. You can get the mids, you can get the high ends, and you can do all those things, and you can manipulate those things anyway. And so it's able to do the same technique of that for stripping the audio. Let's get the bass, let's get the treble, and that's how they're kind of isolating it. Technicality, really cool. Practicality, I don't know if it's for me. I would, if it's free, I'll take it.
That kind of summarizes the iPad so well.
Yes. I'll take it, but I don't know if I'll use it.
On a technical level, this is very impressive. On a practical level, it's not that useful.
I don't...
Because, like, if this is only available for Logic on iPad, not only would you have to go out and buy an iPad just for that one feature, because now the rest of it you're stuck on the iPad for. In which case you're like, I would still want the Mac. But you also got to pay $5 a month for, even if you already own Logic. So
I'm not okay
it's
with
cool,
that.
But $5 a month for that feature, no. It's so much of what the iPad embodies, which is pretending to do what a computer can do. You know, it's like, multicam. That wasn't really the big complaint everyone had, but they found a way to make it iPad-ified, you know? Yeah. They're like, see, it pairs with the other iPhones. Nothing else can do this. We made it simple and intuitive. And it's like, yeah, but that wasn't really what everybody was asking for. But you get to now check another box on the long list of, no.
Here's how Apple can, for me, here's how you can convince me to use an iPad and pay subscription for that stuff. I would consider a $5 a month equivalent for Logic or Final. I would consider all that on iPad if it was already bundled with like an Apple One subscription because I need to utilize the
Mm.
other features. Then
There you go. It's the 1 terabyte only
it's
bundle.
those subscription features is the Apple News Plus equivalent or arcade for me. You're there. I technically
Yeah.
get you for free, but I really just want the storage and the music. Okay,
Right.
I guess. All right, fine. Then
Apple Card customers, you get free Logic Pro. There you go.
I would forego maybe a 2% back for because I look at my statement every month. I don't think I make $5 a month, or maybe about $5 a month on average if I'm being realistic about how my spending is.
Yeah.
I would forego the 2% cash back for allocating that to like a $5 a month part of it. I can see something like that working for me. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I use my card. It's something I pay for anyway. I'll use you and get a free subscription out of it.
They should really up the cash back for like services.
I agree.
Like, okay, hardware at Apple is 3% back, but if you pay for an Apple membership, it could be like 10% or 20% cash back. They probably lose way too much money on that. But
Are they not losing money on the like News Plus anyway? Like it's $10,
That's
isn't
true.
it? It's like
cares,
that's already
right?
silly.
It's worth just locking my my credit score to iOS. It's worth giving me that cash back, but they're like, you'll pay it anyway. So
Yeah. Yeah.
anywho, any closing thoughts about the higher nano textured being paired with the terabytes of storage or anything?
All right, just go use that Paperlight, whatever I see people sponsoring.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Just do that.
Everybody loved that, huh? How much
I've
is
heard
that thing?
great things. I've never used it. I've heard amazing things, and I think I would use that more and more as I find myself using my iPad. I'm not upgrading. Here's my closing final thought here. I'm not upgrading this
Okay.
thing. I'm fairly confident. This is great. Even if there's iPad OS 18 proprietary things for just the brand new thing,
Yeah.
I live within the realm of what iPad OS exists as today, and I'm okay with it for what I need. So this is not really going to go anywhere. I'm not interested in selling this anymore. I thought today might try to sell me. I'll wait until Dub and consider reviewing it then, but I think I already know my answer. I might do what you're doing, Drew. I might just go to a store and
Let's just go play with it.
I'll just go play with it. I'll know.
Just go
within
mess
5
around.
minutes. No, so
It's $45 to get the paper-like screen protector.
that's way cheaper than 200 on top of the terabyte upgrade. And
But does that come with a terabyte of storage? I don't think so.
oh, you got me, Apple. No, here's my real closing thought. We will, out of just sheer technical curiosity, I think Mike will get on board, but you and I, we are going to try this Final Cut camera and see how that all works. I'm interested as a standalone
Oh.
app. How will it work?
I looked it up. It requires an M1 chip
Oh!
or better. The app is free.
So we can't
the
multicam.
iPhone app. But the multicam, we're going to have to find someone with an M1.
I do. I got
Where's
an
Nick?
M1 Pro MacBook Pro.
Oh, no, that can't do it for some reason. Even though it has all the exact same
that
hardware.
sums up iPad for me. For some reason, your better
know what?
hardware can't do it.
The MacBook needs iPad OS, Randy. That's the. If I could run, hey, can't the Mac run iPad apps? Isn't that a thing?
Yes.
So
if the developer hits the switch,
let's
for
do
it,
that. Does Apple flip the switch? Let's run Final Cut for iPad on the Mac, and then we can do the multicam thing.
Before we go, I need to do this right here in live time. I'm going to Final Cut in the App Store. Final Cut Pro. Here we go.
We're gonna figure out if
There
we can get
is,
the iPad
dude. Oh,
version.
dang it! No.
Are you serious?
No,
No, that's
no,
just
no.
the Final Cut real app, right? How do you get the iPad version? iPhone and iPad.
Yeah, click on the tab.
It's
It's
not
not there.
there.
I see Luma, which I already have downloaded. Nope, they don't.
There's got to be a way. Audience, help us out. I know there must. We can sideload now, right? Thanks to the EU.
Otherwise, what are we doing here?
We gotta. Why is it that when Apple comes up with a cool Final Cut feature, now they're like, well, give it to the iPad so it can have a bone, but don't give it to the Mac, even though we have the more powerful silicon here.
Yeah.
This should be possible. This should be easier, and this should perform better on the Mac. Maybe it will. Maybe they just haven't.
Next month.
It'll be Mac OS. Yeah.
God, I hope, man. I that would be.
That's gonna steal all the interest in the iPads for me so fast.
Well, that's our use case. The people who still need to be artists or students or whatever will find their utility regardless. But then just get.
If you're a really talented artist.
Yeah.
Still don't buy the iPad because your job's about to be replaced by Dolly anyway. So maybe that's why they're launching the iPads now. Is they're like, look at all the great artistry tools, and then at DubDub they're gonna be like, now Siri can draw. You can tell her to paint anything, and she just cranks out this beautiful artwork. All of you artists better move to California where minimum wage is $20 an hour.
Because you're gonna need it. with 5 roommates.
You're gonna be one of McDonald's 3 employees. Congratulations.
All right.
Employee of the month will have a whole new meeting.
The employee of the month. It's SpongeBob.
There's just one.
For the series of all the SpongeBob ones.
McDonald's will hire one person a month, and they will run the whole thing. They just clean the floor or something.
For the Randy Industries here, or whatever I'm calling it, my employee of the month is going to be the Open AI logo for every. I'm going to have it mounted on the wall. Open AI has helped me with my cover art, thumbnails, scripting, or whatever.
Oh my god!
Employee of the month is
all right.
Is that?
It's just like Mom of the Year goes to the iPad.
There's a skit in there somewhere. I think I'm going to try to find a way to make that work.
Mom of the Year goes to the Bluey player, which is the iPad.
Dude, Bluey for the win. Absolutely. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, there's your hour and 40-minute review of the 35-minute Apple event. Thank you all for tuning in.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll see you next week if we're not canceled yet.
Hey.
We'll see.
AI is coming for our podcast next, so there it is.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
See ya.